Welcome to Laying the Groundwork for Government Contracting. We're glad you joined us today for Let's Talk Business. Again, it's brought to you by the Washington Center for Women in Business and the United States Small Business Administration. Little housekeeping duty. First, this webinar is being recorded. Please mute yourself. The audio or phone, you can either use the phone or the audio to mute yourself. If you have questions, you can raise your hand or you can type in the chat box and we'll answer your questions either as we go or we may save them until the end. What is the Washington Center for Women in Business? We're located in Lacey, Washington, but we cover the entire state. We help small businesses with startup planning, business growth and strengthening strategies, business and marketing plans, legal requirements, entity structuring, licensing, registration and taxes, operations, financing, accounting, bookkeeping, employees, marketing and sales, motivation and accountability. We provide these services through one-on-one coaching sessions, workshops and seminars, multi-session training, online, phone, and in person. We, again, are located in Lacey, Washington. Your first session with us is a free session, and then after those, it's $25, which is very economical if you've ever worked with a business coach or some kind of consultant to try to help you with getting your business up and running. We do sometimes have scholarships available. You would contact our program manager, Tracy Hansen. We also have our business coach, Christine Buckley. And again, we cover the entire state. Our office coordinator is Ryan Norskott. Today we're going to have a great presentation with Katie Hoy. She's with the Washington PTAC program. So take it away, Katie.
Hello, thank you, George. So as George stated, my name is Katie Hoy with the Washington PTAC. PTACs are Procurement Technical Assistance Centers located across the U.S. We're partially funded by the Department of Defense, and our sole mission is to connect small businesses with government contracting opportunities. The Washington PTAC has 8 different locations across the state. You can find the closest center to you at washingtonptac.org. We provide one-on-one counseling, certification assistance, and training such as this one. So, laying the groundwork. This is part of our Government Contracting Essentials, and it's going to introduce you to the basics of government contracting and help you decide if government contracting is for you, as well as provide you some next steps and resources. So the basics of government procurement. There's going to be 4 key steps to government contracting. 1, you'll go through a research phase, which we're starting with today. 2, you're going to register on appropriate sites and obtain certifications. You will respond to a solicitation, and then you will receive a contract, the best step of all. So first of all, who is eligible to bid on solicitations? Any business that is legally established, 51% owned by a U.S. citizen, or for-profit can bid on solicitations. To qualify for certifications, which are only for small businesses, the small business must be small by SBA standards. And you can ask us for details on that at washingtonptac.org. So, how do you get started? First of all, you get started by doing some market research. You'll want to identify who you're selling to, what are they buying, and how are they buying it. So who can you sell to? Well, there are thousands of federal agencies. There's some examples include the Department of Transportation, the Veterans Affairs, Homeland Security, military bases, the Post Office, NASA. There's thousands and thousands of federal agencies that you can sell to, but there's more. In Washington State, there's 190 different state agencies or departments or commissions. We have some examples of those on the right-hand side. For a full list of government agencies, you can go to access.wa.gov for the full list. But there's more. There's also 39 counties in the state of Washington. The counties operate differently from the state that operates differently from the feds. And there's more. There's 281 different municipalities, or cities or towns, that also have procurement centers and do purchasing separate from the counties and separate from the state. And there's even more. This does not include tribal entities or schools or quasi-agencies such as utilities or colleges or transit authorities, and it also doesn't include the 49 other states. So why do I start with this? This is to emphasize that when you consider selling to the government, it's a huge pool, and the first thing you're going to want to do is narrow it down and figure out who you're selling to. So, what do they buy? Regardless of the level of government, they're going to be buying roughly these services that fall in these categories. They're going to be buying day-to-day services such as janitorial or pest control, staffing, food service, and that sort of thing. If you are in that bucket and you are interested in providing a day-to-day service for the government, be prepared that you will be bidding against an incumbent. Somebody already has that contract that you will have to unseat. If you're a consultant or you do wellness programs or website enhancement type of things, those are generally specially funded projects. It may take a year or two to break into government contracting if you're doing that because the opportunities don't come up quite as often. If you're in construction, typically you're going to start off by subcontracting to a prime before you get a prime contract. And finally, if you are in products, you'll want to already be selling your products in the commercial arena before you talk to government agencies. So finally, you'll want to know how they buy your product or service. Now, I'm going to talk about 3 of the main ways that government agencies purchase, so you're familiar with them, but there are many different ways. First of all, they post solicitations. Federally, solicitations that are $25,000 or greater have to be posted publicly. Regardless of the level of government, there must be at least 2 bids received in order for there to be an award. This is a competitive process. One thing to note, the process to register and bid on government contracts, regardless of the level, is free. And federally, you do not have to be certified to bid on federal contracts that are set aside for small business. You only may want to be certified if it's set aside for a disadvantaged small business, and there is a difference. The government also uses prime contractors, which are large private companies that have made a deal with the government to provide certain services or products. Examples of these may be your Raytheons, or your Honeywells, or your large construction firms such as Skanska. The prime contractors do have to purchase 23% of their purchases, if they're working on a federal contract, with small businesses, but they have their own onboarding and bidding processes. And finally, the government places multi-vendor award contracts, which means you would bid to get on a list, and over a period of time, it might be a year, it might be 3 years, the offices within that level of government can use this contract in order to send out bids. So bids only go out to the people that are on this contract. Some common multi-vendor award contracts on a federal level is the GSA schedule. Construction, you might have heard the term MATOCs, which are multiple award task order contracts. Statewide, they put out master contracts. And on the city or local level, we're talking about rosters or QVLs. They're all essentially the same thing. You apply to get on a list, and then from there you bid. So how does the government help small businesses? They create small business opportunities. Washington State has small business set aside for contracts that are $13,000 or smaller. Now, the exception to that would be if there was a state contract that was going out and there was no qualified small businesses to take it, then it would obviously be awarded to a large business. And also at a state level, there's the DBE program, which is typically for construction type projects. If you are going to be doing work for the Department of Transportation or the FAA, you may want to consider getting DBE certified. And we can get into that with WashingtonPTAC.org. You can learn more about it. On a federal space, contracts that are anticipated to be $150,000 or smaller should go to qualified small business. In addition, 23% of all purchases made by the federal government by law are to be set aside for qualified small businesses. There are goals that the federal agencies are asked to meet, which are for women-owned small businesses or vet-owned 8A or hub zone. Today, we're going to talk about what the government does to help women-owned small businesses. So by setting aside women-owned businesses, this is federal procurement only, there are 3 ways to get certified. 1, you can self-certify when you register on SAM. SAM.gov is the starting place for anything that you do federal. You can also obtain a third-party certification for a price that will satisfy federal contractors or prime contractors. Or you can obtain a WVE certification from the state of Washington. Regardless of which way you go, you will want to learn more about the WOSB certification from sba.gov/WOSB. SBA is the oversight for all federal set-asides. Things to know about the woman-owned certification. First of all, the state of Washington does not have set-aside programs. The only certain NAICS codes are set aside for women-owned businesses. NAICS codes are the industry codes that the federal government uses to identify the industry that you're in. So not all industries will be set aside. Only contracts that are for suppliers where it's been determined that women are underrepresented are those industry contracts set aside or could be set aside. If you qualify as an EDWOSB, which is Economically Disadvantaged Women-Owned Small Business, you are automatically certified for WOSB. So, is government contracting for you? You'll want to do a little brief assessment before you dive into government contracting. First of all, are you ready to compete? Regardless of the certification that you might get, you do not get a break on the qualities or the past performance or the ability to perform on a contract. You will be competing against other suppliers. Do you have past performance in the commercial or private sector? You do not want to learn your job on a government contract. That's the quickest way to go out of business, is to sign a contract with the government where you did not understand the pricing or you did not understand the contract. They will not let you out of it. Do you have the time and resources to commit to the process? It is very time consuming to get involved with government contracting. And finally, are you financially stable? There are several reasons that you'll want to be financially stable. The main ones are, many times when you get a government contract, it's bigger than what you've normally had. You may need to beef up your staff or buy additional equipment. You also, until you get into the invoicing software, you might not get paid for the first 60 or 90 days, and you will be having to supply products or parts or services until you get your invoice paid. So the best avenues for success in government contracting is first create a solid business plan. Have at least 2 years experience in the commercial market. It will make your going down the government road much easier. Create a government target marketing plan by answering the questions: who are you selling to, what do they buy, and how do they buy it? And we also recommend that you have a strong cash flow and a line of credit and/or loan in place. PTAC counselors can help you with any of these things. So next step, if you're unsure if you're ready, talk to your Women's Center counselor or schedule a meeting with a PTAC counselor to explore the options. Again, our website is washingtonptac.org. If you want to learn more about the federal WOSB certification, you will want to visit sba.gov/WOSB to get the details. And now I can answer any questions if there's any out there.
So if you have any questions, please type them in. Our first question, Kate, is what does it cost to work with Washington PTAC?
Washington PTAC services are free. As I mentioned before, we are partially funded by the Department of Defense, and our services to small businesses are free.
How about telling them how many locations we have across the state? I believe you have 8 locations across the state, is that correct?
We do. We have 8 different locations across the street, across the state. And on our website, washingtonptac.org, you can go to an interactive map and find the location or the counselor closest to you. Or you can ask your WCWB counselor. They'll be able to help you.
Well, we haven't received any other questions, so we want to thank you today for joining us for Let's Talk Business. Thank you, Kate, for sharing with us what Washington PTAC is, and we look forward to working with any of the Washington Center for Women in Business clients. Thank you very much.